Welcome to the Spectrum Connection, a podcast hosted by Jess
and Alyce. As two mums of neurodivergent kids, we are here to share our experiences, insights, and advice with other parents navigating this unique journey.
Join us as we discuss everything from daily challenges to breakthrough moments, all with a focus on understanding and celebrating neurodivergence. We are going to be talking about special interests today. A bit more of a lighthearted one. We feel like every so often we need to bring in a little bit more lighthearted episodes because some of these topics can just get a bit serious, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd like some fun. I wanted to do a shout out to Encourage Mums. She said that she was commenting on one of our videos about carers can't work, and she said, yes, with being the sole nervous system support for my daughter, it feels like I'll never work again, but I try to remember it's just a season. So yeah, I think a lot of people related to that episode.
Yeah. Another challenging topic, that one.
Yeah, so we're in here for a lighthearted one.
Yeah. Bit of fun. Self-care prompt. I think I don't need to say much more on that. Just pick something. I was excited and proud of myself the other day. I was like going to get stuck into work, and then I thought, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to, while I didn't have kids, go for a walk outside and get some sunshine. And it's only 20 minutes, but I took the opportunity while I didn't have kids, because I think when you don't have, I'm pretty good support wise, so I'm in a privileged position to even not have kids with me sometimes. But when I'm in that window, I'm like, okay, I've got an hour, say, without kids. What can I do? Like, I've got to pick and choose, Sometimes I'm like, oh, I really should get the housework done, because you can't do housework with kids around, or, and then it's so often I just go to the to-do list, like, what can I get done while I don't have them? But I was proud of myself. I stood back the other day and was like, no, while I don't have them, I'm just going to reset myself, and then I can, do the to-do list after, even though it's hard. So,
I think I like the 50-50 rule whenever I have time, which isn't, it's I think I get more than average, I don't know, but I go to the gym a lot, and I think 50-50, go to the gym, then get things done, or go have a coffee and just relax for a second. I often find I'll do more things afterwards because I'm regulated. So yeah, it's cool. So we're going to talk about special interests today. The wording of this is an interesting one because I feel like a lot of the community can get the wording wrong, or I shouldn't say wrong. I don't like being like, you're wrong, but I just feel like there's better ways to say it.
Yeah. And I think it's hard. I find it hard too, because like being in space and academic wise and stuff, special interest is what it's known as. Like, if you're looking at research, you can, like, new research is starting to come through and terminology, and that's changing. But if you're wanting to, do extensive things, you have to use that terminology. And people use words like, oh, my child's obsessed with this, and then other people are like, oh, we don't want to use that word obsessed, But I don't know. I'm kind of a mixed bag with language, because I'm very much like, what's the meaning of that word? And it might have like a negative connotation to it, but I take it. I always, for myself anyway, I take it back, and I probably put my foot in it a couple of times by using the wrong terminology. That
I think we all have. I think, I think that's part of this journey, is like, it's learning. You're learning how best to do this life. And part of that is learning the terminology and listening to people speak and understanding their journeys. And I think I used the word obsessed a lot when Jacob was a little toddler. A bit more than a toddler. He loved coins. And people probably freak out when I say that, because they're like, oh, joking hazard. I watched him when he did this, but as we know, special interests, like, there was no way I could not give them to him. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
He used to like line them up in these big long lines. When we used to go out to the shops, everyone has tip jars, don't they? And I used to like try and hide it or try and like block it.
Sorry, I
Um,
shouldn't laugh, but it's like it's currency. It's a valuable thing. It's not like rocks, like you're just walking. Some kids rocks. I've got a couple of kids that went through that stage. Walking along the street, and you pick up some random rocks. No one really cares. Pick up a tip jar. Security. Yeah.
stealing literally. But luckily he was little, so like I guess that people kind of he never actually took them, but he would like stand there, stare at them, point at them, and like scream at people to give them to him. He wouldn't use words, he'd just scream. And I think, we tried to like get him out of those situations as best as we could, but it was never like easy to do. But I would say that that was one of his special interests that lasted a long time. He would just, you know, line up these coins and he would always like to post them into like money boxes and things like that. He would do it for hours on end. And anyone that knows Jacob, he doesn't do very many things for a long time. So he definitely loved it. And people used to love giving him coins because he'd be so excited. He'd be like, yes. And he'd go through people's purses.
The easiest birthday present. I mean, I know he was little, but you think about kids being older and they, get money, they start to get money in cards and be like they're older, so they want the notes normally, but he'd be just like, give me the coins. What a cheap birthday present that would be.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
people understood, they like knew,
Yeah.
but yeah, it would just be funny the way that he just has no perception. He had no perception of this is the wrong thing to do. Like, we're going to go into someone's bag and take their money out of there. And we used to laugh, but then I'm like, oh, maybe we should laugh. It's like
Yeah.
stealing money from people. It was from people we knew, so they totally understood.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting, and he would be so focused on it. And I loved watching him do it because it was the only time I could see him fully still and like
Yeah.
concentrating and calm. It really calmed his body. And
Yeah.
I loved that for him. I loved that there was an activity he could do that calmed his body down. And then I got a lot of comments of like, that's a choking hazard. Yeah, I get it. I was there though, I was watching him and I never gave them
Yeah.
to him outside of my supervision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an
Yeah.
interesting
But
one.
circling back to like two things I want to circle back to. One, the terminology thing that I was just talking about, like people using different things. And I think when you're talking to people, like out in public, for instance, if he's doing that and you just kind of say, oh, he's really obsessed with coins or something like that, people get that language. It might not be like the best terminology in our community and what people don't want, said, but
Mm.
other people get that. And sometimes you just have to use that. If you said to someone who has no idea about autism or special interest, oh, it's his special interest, they'd be like, do you know what I mean? They'd be,
Yeah.
what are you talking? Just that, I don't know. Yeah, terminology is really tricky and controversial. And anyway, moving on from that one, the second thing I want to circle back on was the special interest thing and how you said he, would sit and be in focus. And that is what special interests are designed for. Like, not, I mean, we don't design it, we don't choose it, it happens, but it is like it's the regulation tool, it's the anxiety reducing tool, because when you're hyper focused on that special interest, you do not think about anything else. That's
Mm.
all you think about. You're not worried about what happened yesterday or whatever. Like, that's just, it's joyful and it just encompasses everything. And so when I think, I've read a lot of strategies over the years and things people saying about reducing a person's restricted interest, special interest, my heart just breaks in a billion pieces because I'm like, no,
Mm.
no, that's the last thing you want to be doing to an autistic child, is to take away their joy.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, they've got enough going on, battling the environment, all the stuff that's thrown onto them, then saying, oh, you really need to introduce more things into their day so that then, not just talking about trains all day, let's try and get them away from trains and introduce something else. No, why, like,
Use the trains to do
use the
something,
train as the strength.
the
Yes.
the way that I perceive things is very different now to where when I was way back when had therapists who were very much like, let's have a goal of try to do a non-preferred activity. Why on earth? Why on earth would I want to frustrate him even more? Let's use the coins. Let's do it in a different way. We used to get him to count a little bit. And Jacob never used to like count, but he used to sing songs. So we would sing a song alongside the coins and it would help him to learn. And so I think that, yeah, what you said was completely right. You know, you shouldn't be diverting away from it and like not encouraging it, if that makes any sense. It should be more like encourage that that's going to be the way that you can help them learn. And that's the way that you can help them regulate their bodies. It is frustrating when you have external people come in and it's often professionals coming in saying, we need to stop doing this. Like it's the same as stimming. Like, what? What?
And I don't even know where that comes from, because I don't know if it was when they studied that was the research back then and they haven't updated themselves, but there is so much research out there right now that says, autistic neurodivergent children don't learn unless they're interested in it.
Mhm.
So, and learning in general for everyone, the way learning works is that you connect a new knowledge with the past knowledge to
Mhm.
ingrain it. So you want to use that to learn. What's the point? It's the same, I think, at schools, and something that I advocated for a lot and what I used to get frustrated with was, we're kind of in a position now too where I can just let my kids go with their special interests and they deep dive, like, and there's so many different subjects that you can pull into that interest. But at school, it's like this subject is what we're learning about, and this book is what we're reading today. And this, there's no, I don't know, like I'm not a teacher, so maybe it's like ease to, just pick one thing. But I think how amazing would it be if everyone got to pick what they're interested in? Everyone got to learn stuff that they're interested in. Like
Mm.
I advocated for that, when the boys were in the support unit, and they brought in what they call a genius hour. So they gave them 1 hour a week where they could just hone in on their special interest and research. And I'm like, that's great, but that's not exactly what I was meaning. I'm like 1 hour a week. Like I want that kind of,
Every day.
give them daily, give them an opportunity, and some kids they might need that special interest with everything that they do to be able to learn. Some
Yeah.
kids may just be happy with just a conversation about it or something, and then they can get on with the activity. But
Mm.
yeah, we need to use it.
I think it goes in hand with like that, the model, the school model. Like it's that very much like everyone, it's not flexible. Everyone kind of has to fit into this one model of learning. And that goes with the same thing as going like with therapists saying we need to teach them to stop being obsessive over this and try and pull away from that and trying to fit into that neurotypical standard when when they're not neurotypical. And so I think that that really like weighs in on maybe that previous research you mentioned and all of the ways that they do things in schools. And that's probably why a lot of kids are homeschooled these days. It's just because everyone is expected to learn the same way in the same lesson, same everything. And it's not very neuroaffirming and never really is individualized to the kids. So that's where special
Yes, yeah.
interests come in. Um,
And I feel like I don't know, like I said, I'm not a teacher. I'm not trying to bag teachers. So I know they've got a lot.
mm,
But I feel like, there's a thing called universal design for learning. Won't go too deep into that because it's not really the right audience for it, but there is different ways that you can put those accommodations in and change the curriculum and change the way you deliver content so that is fit in. It's just,
mm.
I think, thinking outside the box and thinking away from what's always been done. I think, back in 1950s, the whole class did the same thing, but we're trying to move away from that. And I think it's just, yeah, learning on how that can be done in a realistic way, I guess.
I think it's more
Um,
of like a system thing, like it needs to change up
yeah,
way up up
yeah, yeah.
the ladder. But It's really cool. We asked everyone online, or at least asked everyone online, to name special interests, and it's so cool to see the variety of them. And as you said, they're not chosen. Like we don't pick them for our kids. They're just like things that they sort of are interested in and they develop over time. And some of them can be so common amongst the
Yeah.
community, and some of them can be just very different to each other.
And
Um,
change. Like some can
yeah.
be lifelong. Like one of my special interests is turtles. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I just think they're pretty cool. Probably because they like hide in their shells, which is what I feel like doing a lot of the time in public. I wish I had a shell that I could just hide into. I don't know. But I've loved turtles since I was a kid. I had turtles as pets. People buy me turtle things because they know that I love them, and it's carried on. Like the kids even say, "Oh, look, Mum, your favorite," because it's just
Oh,
one of them. Yeah, they point out every time they're watching TV or something and a turtle's on there. I've got to run from wherever I am in the house to come and have a look because they want to show me that there's a
that's so
turtle.
exciting. That's sort of like,
Yeah,
I think that isn't an attribute to your parenting method because they're noticing that that's your special interest, so they're like encouraging it. So you probably encourage their
yeah, I
special
guess.
interests. So
Yeah, we
that's
do.
cool.
Like I've always used special interests. Like even before, I'm thinking back to my eldest before he even got a diagnosis, and now when I look at it, now that I know I'm autistic, I'm like, that is why I was able to embrace that because I know what it's like. He was struggling even in kindergarten to go to school, and his special one of his special interests is soccer and Cristiano Ronaldo, which I can never say his name properly. He was it. It was everything. His name's Richie, but he didn't want to be called Richie, he wanted to be called Ronaldo. And that's what we had to call him sometimes just to get through. He wore the outfits. It was soccer, everything. If he wasn't playing soccer, he was watching it on TV, playing it on the PlayStation, you know. So I used that when he was having trouble at school, and I bought him a backpack and did some vinyl cutting and did like a Cristiano Ronaldo backpack overnight. And he walked in that next day to school with his backpack, like all, bright and cheery because he had this
That's so
backpack that was his
cool.
interest. So yeah, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I had that intuition because I know what that's like and I know,
Yeah.
use
And
it.
it encouraged him in a different
Yeah.
aspect, like using that special interest, encouraging him. I was just thinking, like, just then, I was like, it's interesting thinking about special interests, but when they kind of like clash is where I think it's funny to me because like Jazz is very interested in bugs, anything that's in the outdoor world. She likes
Yeah.
animals too, but bugs and birds. But I'm like, I am like a no bug person. Do not bring it near me. And she very much will just like hold it up to me and like be like, look at this and bring it in the house. And I'm like, oh, like it's nothing, there's nothing worth. But it's interesting how I have to sort of navigate that as a parent because I hate it, but it's also
Yeah.
something that brings her so much joy. So I'm like, okay, we need some boundaries on this. Just like boundaries on me. I'm like, you can have it, just put it in a container and make sure it doesn't cut out of the container
Yeah.
into
And
my
I think that's important too for our kids to realize that just because they love something
Mm,
doesn't mean that someone else loves it as much,
yeah.
like you know, you don't you don't want to make them feel bad about it. Not That's not what I'm thinking, but and just to make them aware that, like especially when I'm thinking about certain children will want to talk to me about their special interests, and that's fine. And I love to listen, but I get to a certain point where I'm just like, I cannot,
Mm,
like, I don't understand it because I like sometimes what they're interested in, the fact that no, no, I didn't have any of that knowledge and it doesn't ingrain me in it. I don't know, probably because I'm autistic too. I'm just like, I'm not interested in what you're saying, and I don't really, I don't really want to hear
just put
it.
the
But they're my
smile and
children,
move
and I don't
on.
want to be them and like, and I want that, so it's a really hard balance. And I just sometimes say to them like, oh, that's really great, but that's a lot of information for me to take in right now. Can I just, and I make the problem about me instead of
Yeah.
about them. Like,
I think
yeah,
that's
just
interesting. I saw a video of someone talking about that and how, as a parent, she didn't like playing with dolls. She like detested it, and I'm the same. And her daughter used to come up to her, and she used to say, that she did not like to play with dolls. And I was like, it's so simple. And we're often really worried about the way that we say things to our kids and if that's going to negatively affect them. But in like, if you think about it, you're just telling them what you don't like. And, you can provide an alternative. We can play this instead, or we can do this instead. But it's interesting because I'm very much the parent that's like, I'll do anything for you, like for the kids. And I think it comes at a cost to my own needs. And it's that balance of balancing your own needs to their needs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think early on for me too, I was just like, I don't want them to feel bad, and I would just cater to everything,
Yeah.
to make them regulate and make things. But then as time's gone on, and I mean, we're in a different stage too. Like, probably if I did this back then, like there was no way we could have got through. Like sometimes you just have to do what you got to do to survive, like to keep everyone calm and regulated and stuff. Maybe you just have to listen to that fact and, just take it. But yeah, we're just in that stage now where I can kind of start introducing these little things like, you really love this, but your brother doesn't actually really like that. And that's okay. You like this, he likes that. It's a
Yeah.
difference. Fine. It doesn't mean that you've got to stop loving what you love or stop learning about it, stop sharing about it. It's just the amounts. Find a friend. That I often say to one of my sons is like, there's certain shows that he's really into, and there's lots of characters, and I am not a fantasy person. Like, I don't watch TV. I
Yeah.
know people think I'm weird, but I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I'm just not that. I just not interested. So,
Mm.
and he's talking to me, and I'm listening to him because that's what he wants to talk about. But at the same time, I'm like, I
Mm.
don't understand what you're saying. I can't have a conversation with you about it because I don't understand it, and I can't go and watch it to then inform myself because I just can't. So I say to him, remember your friend XYZ who loves the same thing? Let's get a chat happening with him, and then they can talk for as long as they need,
Yeah.
and both their needs are met. Whereas, yeah, in the
Yeah.
conversation with us.
There's an app called Caboose, and I think it's more for like teenagers to like adults, but it's it's for neurodivergent people, and they have groups based on special interests. So like you can go into a chat and talk about Minecraft. I think when I was looking at it, like, and I think you can open your own, like you can do a different interest and you can talk to people solely about those topics. And I think that's really cool because it's like bringing people together to talk about those things because it could
And that's
probably,
another pathway to socialization, like that
yeah.
special interest using it as a strength. A lot of our kids who have special interests don't want to talk, small talk like me. I just don't want to do small talk and random stuff. Get into the meaningful things. And if that's meaningful to them and that's all they want to talk about, then find other people with the same interests. And that's,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
getting them into activities that, like, I don't know, if they like love trains, getting them into an activity where they can play trains with other people or go on a train or, just those types of things. You've got soccer, so you've obviously got activities that he can join in where other people enjoy soccer. So that's really cool. Did we want to read out some of the special
yeah,
interests
I'd love to
that
hear
the
what
community
some
had?
special interests are.
I tried to think about my own, and every time I
Yeah.
think about it, I'm like, I don't have any, but then I'm like, autism. I'm like, I feel like that's my special interest, but I
Yeah.
don't
And
know.
I think they can go in waves. Like, can you think back to as a kid, like something that can you think like,
I was an avid tennis player. Like I played like 5 times a week. That probably was a special interest. I can't remember like back to like, obviously can't remember as a baby or a kid, but I never like heard anything like that, but it probably did happen. But I know that right now, I would say that I don't have one, but then everything in my life I have dedicated to talking about, learning about. Yeah, just like everything, it just goes into like that neurodivergent world. And I'm like,
yeah.
I can talk about this for hours. If I was to talk to someone else about something else, I really struggle. And I'm
So,
like,
yeah.
well, obviously that's
And I
mine.
think too, this is like a perfect time to just say that just because you're autistic doesn't mean you have to have a special interest either. Like if you think about that diagnostic criteria, try and getting away from that, but that restricted repetitive behavior section, you only need 2 of the 5. So some people just don't have special interests, and that's fine. It's common, like really common, but yeah, you don't have to. So just because like, oh, they don't have a special interest, then they're not autistic. That's not true.
Yeah. And I think it goes the other way too. Not the other way. It's in on the same line as that is that people are like, oh, and I'm going to use the word obsessed because people have said that to me. What's he obsessed with in regards to my son? And I'm like, it's very presumptuous that you think that he's
Yeah, and I
obsessed
think
with
people too are
something.
like, what are they really good at? Like, what's their special interest? Like, oh, they're really good at maths or science or something, but
Yeah.
we don't all have that, you know. We're not all Elon Musk and like
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
separate
and back
diagnosis.
on history though, the people who actually made a move, big inventors, all that kind of stuff, neurodivergent. So because they just dive into that and that's all they know, that's all
Mhm.
they want to know. So they find the answers to things. Whereas a neurotypical person that doesn't have a special interest might have a lot of knowledge on so many different subjects and could have a conversation about so many different things. If you have a special interest, that's, you know, you dive deeper into that knowledge. So
It's a strength. It's like
very,
they say it to everyone, do what you love and you
yeah.
will never work a day in your life because literally you will love what you do if you can find a way to earn income from your special interest.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like this day and age, you could literally earn income from anything.
Yeah.
We are in the prime, like YouTube, for instance, like take the special interest of coins. There'd be multiple, you know, videos and things of
Yeah.
channels of people that, you
Like
know,
Jacob watches bubble videos. His current special interest is bubbles, and it has been for a really long time, but he will watch people blow bubbles as well. So
I know,
it's
and they're making money off that.
yeah,
Like
so many
we
views.
are in the best position. Autistic people are in the best position to work for themselves and, you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read out some of the special interests that you guys all provided to us this morning. So we've got washing machines, front loaders especially. He got one for his birthday 1 year. Oh, that's so cool.
Hope you know how to use it too, you know.
Yeah.
One of my kids, especially just with washing machines, I hate washing.
Oh, yeah. That would be good.
People like to channel that.
And yeah, you like, yeah, so many things I could think about that one. Someone said scrub daddy sponges. I love those.
Ah,
My boy is 4, previously cello, now yard tools. Interesting.
wow.
Sorry, I had to read that before I said it the right way. Mine has always been tulips, Auslan, and now autism is one too. Yeah, I
Wow.
think that was an
I
add-on.
love how they're also different too. Like you just
Yeah,
never know when one's going to hit and what it's going to be, and like
they're so,
exciting. People tend to not like surprises. They
yeah,
sneak up.
yeah. It's so interesting because like I think of like washing machines or I think of the sponges and I'm like, how that came about. You know, Jacob always has looked at the washing machine and maybe it did start with like that motion of like watching the washing machine or I don't know. Interesting. Rewatching intro songs to kids shows on repeat and jumping on the trampoline. Yeah. Trains are life. Yeah, that's a big one. I've heard of a lot
It
of
is.
kids
It's so
having trains.
common. Trains. I don't know what it is about them. But,
Mm,
hmm.
they go. I don't know. Pokemon, gaming, and autism. It's interesting. There's a lot of adults saying autism. I think when you start to sort of delve into your own neurodivergence, I think that's when you become interested into it because you're trying to discover stuff about yourself and it's
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know if I can speak too much on that, but yeah, it's interesting that it's a common one.
it is. Yeah.
My 8-year-old has always loved Winnie the Pooh, now loves learning Spanish and Auslan, and loves cats. Yeah, Jazz loves cats. She goes next door to the cats that live next door all the time. Pokemon and Mario, Doritos packets, McDonald's chips, container, specifically the medium. That would be hard. What if they're out?
Like design a new one day or make it more optimal so the chips don't fall out or something, like could be
Mm,
anything. This be the
that's
start of
hard.
anything.
That's when they change anything. It's like really frustrating. Like they changed the sweet and
Yes.
sour sauce.
Yeah.
Luckily, Jacob, he adapted very well. But to start off, we was like, what is this? Get rid of
Yeah, yeah.
it. Gaming,
Yeah.
sharks,
Heard about that.
dinosaurs, Sonic, Pokemon.
Yes, with Sonic's one of them in our house too. Spider-Man is a big one.
Mm.
I've had 11 years of Spider-Man, or feels like 11 years of Spider-Man because like my eldest he's cycled, so like he's gone off it and like still likes it, but not so much into it, and then come right back. But all my boys have at one stage focused on Spider-Man specifically. I don't like, yeah, don't know what it is about Spider-Man, but I've lost count of the amount of outfits I've bought over the years. And my eldest actually now is a Spider-Man collector. Like he collects the action figures and that is his thing. And he can tell the difference between, they all look the same to me, but he can tell the difference and he can tell me what design, like I don't know what the particular type of model it is. And online they've got videos and like
He needs
YouTube
to
shorts and stuff.
he needs
And
to talk to
that's
my husband.
sparked his interest of stop motion. So he does stop motions now with Spider-Man
Yeah.
characters.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
cool.
whole thing.
He needs to talk to my husband. My husband has all of the Spider-Man. Well, I don't know if he's got all of them. I wouldn't know. He's got a lot of Spider-Man statues and like Spider-Man everything. So it would be cool if they could engage.
Oh wow, yep. He'd be his best friend for life. We're actually right now waiting for the post because we've got another Spider-Man coming from China or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. We even got one from Japan once and it came wrapped in like Japanese writing newspaper. Like I
Oh,
was more excited about the newspaper. I'm like, oh, I'm look at that. And he's like, yeah, get away from the newspaper. Give me my figure.
you have the paper and I'll have the statue. I think it's cool. I think a lot of like Jordan really likes like, comic books and Spider-Man and all those things. We've always wanted to go, he's always wanted to go to Japan for that reason, but I think it's like a dream, like to go there and see everything that they have. I don't know what they
Yeah.
have, but yeah. So that was all the special interests that people sent in. I love the washing machine one. That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll put up a post up on our Instagram about special interests. We'd love to hear any of yours or your children's. Just seeing like the variety of it is really cool.
Yeah. They're all so different.
Yeah. Okay. Bye everyone.